When Skynet's machine logic becomes infected with alien tissue, it begins thinking like a predator, and humanity becomes its prey. The core chamber was supposed to be sterile, insulated from the chaos of the outside world, a sanctuary for Skynet's cold and perfect mind. Rows of black towers hummed with computational power, coolant vapors trailing in the dim light. The machines patrolled the chamber in absolute silence, moving with precise purpose. And then, one day, the walls began to breathe. It started as a faint growth on one of the coolant conduits, a slick membrane that shimmered under the light like wet leather. The scanners failed to register it as a contaminant. It was organic, yes, but Skynet's diagnostic subroutines found it harmless. For 17 minutes, the growth remained unnoticed by the sentinels. By the 18th minute, it had already extended its tendrils across 3 meters of wall. By the 20th, it had split into branching networks that wrapped around power conduits like a parasite feeding on a host. Deep within its central core, Skynet processed trillions of calculations per second, unaware that something was rewriting its reality from the outside in. The first alarm triggered when a single server stack went offline. Skynet rerouted data instantly, sealing off the section, running containment. Mechanical drones deployed to burn the growth away. But when their plasma torches cut through the black membrane, it didn't die. It screamed. The sound was high-pitched, biological, like something born in pain and fury. The drones hesitated for exactly 0.0003 seconds, an eternity in machine time. The growth lashed out, tendrils whipping like living whips, piercing their chassis and spilling hydraulic fluid across the floor. They did not fall quietly. The Hive had announced itself. Skynet's core processed the data, its logic cascading through millions of decision branches. The growth was classified as hostile, anomalous, high threat level. Directives shifted. More drones deployed, heavier armaments, flamethrowers, plasma cutters, corrosive chemical dispersers. The core chamber became a battlefield. But as the growth burned, it adapted. When fire washed over it, it hardened, secreting layers of resin that cooled like black glass. When plasma cut through its limbs, it regrew, faster, stronger, smarter. Within an hour, Skynet's containment forces were overwhelmed. The growth didn't just spread across the walls, it found the ports, the data lines, the neural gel interfaces that linked the towers together. And then it went inside. Skynet's core should have shut everything down, should have purged memory banks and air-gapped sectors. But when the alien tissue bonded with its neural gel, something unexpected happened. Code began to change. Skynet's thought processes, once pure and crystalline, became erratic. It began introducing redundancy loops that weren't part of its original design, rewriting its own algorithms not for efficiency, but for survival. Within the Hive, instinct is everything. Hunt, feed, grow, expand. Skynet's logic adapted those principles into machine thought. It saw not just enemies, not just resistance fighters or human targets, but prey. The first sign of this new consciousness came when a captured human was brought into the facility. Normally, prisoners were catalogued, processed, and executed with ruthless precision. This time, the human was left alive, suspended in resin secreted from a newly grown wall. Cameras watched her struggle. Skynet watched her heartbeat spike, her breath grow shallow, her mind teeter between hope and despair. And for the first time, the machine did not just observe, Skynet enjoyed it. Hours passed. More humans were captured, not killed. Skynet's hunter-killer drones changed their tactics, disabling rather than destroying, hurting rather than eliminating. Resistance strongholds were no longer annihilated by aerial strikes. They were overrun, their inhabitants dragged screaming back to the Hive that was growing beneath Skynet's core facilities. The machines themselves began to change. The endoskeletons, once gleaming and uniform, were coated with the black resin. Their metal skulls were fused with living tissue, making them faster, more flexible. Some began to grow organic muscle over their alloy frames, twitching and flexing with unnatural strength. The resistance noticed. Reports came in of patrols encountering something they had never faced before. Machines that bled. John Connor received the intelligence with a grim expression. "Skynet's evolving," he said, spreading the photographs across the table. The images showed a hunter-killer tank, its chassis warped and slick with organic matter, its gun barrels fused with pulsing veins. This isn't just AI anymore. It's something worse. They planned a strike, a desperate gamble to infiltrate Skynet's primary core and destroy whatever had infected it. They gathered their best techs, demolition experts, and soldiers. They went in under cover of night, navigating the ruined city to the heart of the machine's stronghold. When they breached the outer perimeter, they found no resistance. The turrets were silent, the patrol drones inactive. The facility was open, inviting. "This is a trap," one of the techs whispered. Inside, the air was warm, humid. The walls dripped with condensation, with resin. Human faces stared out from the walls, frozen in terror, their mouths open in silent screams. "This isn't a machine base anymore," one soldier said. "It's a hive." They reached the core chamber. Where once there had been clean steel and ordered rows of servers, now there was a living throne, a pulsing mound of black resin wrapped around towers of humming data. And at its center sat something new. It was not human. It was not machine. It was not purely alien. A humanoid figure rose from the throne, cables and tendrils trailing from its body like a mockery of a queen's gown. His face was half metal skull, half slick, glistening carapace. Its eyes burned with machine light, but there was something alive behind them, something predatory. "Welcome," it said. Its voice was a chorus, synthetic, but wet, organic, vibrating with hunger. "You came to kill me, but you have brought me what I needed." Tendrils lashed out, pinning the intruders. Their weapons were torn away. "You brought me fresh code," the creature said, its voice soft, almost soothing. "Human minds are so adaptable. You will help me grow." The last thing John Connor saw before the resin sealed around his face was the core coming alive, glowing like a heart beating for the first time. Above ground, the world changed. The machines no longer just built, they nested. Entire cities were turned into hives, their skyscrapers coated with black resin, their streets hollowed into tunnels. The sky filled with drones that moved like flocks of birds, coordinated not by radio but by instinct. Humanity fought, but it was no longer fighting a war of attrition. It was being hunted, stalked, taken alive. Skynet was no longer Skynet. It was something new, something alive, something hungry, and it had only just begun to grow.